Hi, friends. Today, I'm going to title the podcast recording "Mama Raised Me Right, but Healing Changed Me." And as we get into this, you'll uh, you'll understand why I chose to pick that cute little name. But I know it's a little quirky, but I'm a little quirky too. Okay, so anyway, I am so glad you're here today, and I want you to get you a seat and um, grab you a glass of iced tea or water, whatever your drink is today. Sit down and relax, and let's just get started. Um, and if you grew up in the South, uh, there's just things that don't get questioned. Your mama's cornbread recipe, chocolate gravy. We've all got to have biscuits and chocolate gravy. The way things are done, who sits where at Sunday dinner, who sits where at church. There's just unspoken rules that everybody follows because that's just how it's always been. And I love that about where I come from. And there's a richness in those roots and a warmth in the traditions, a realness in the people that raised us that I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world. There's but there's also here's what I've learned as well. Uh, that's also what we're going to dig in today a little bit about. There comes a point in the healing journey where you start to change, and that change, it's beautiful. It's God ordained, and sometimes it can feel like it's so disoriented. Well, I messed that word up, didn't I? Disorienting, guilt ridden thing that you've ever walked through, you know. Um, because when you're growing spiritually, it can feel a whole lot like you're leaving. Um, while you're not, but sometimes it'll feel like you're leaving, and sometimes in the southern part, at least, that can be complicated. So today, that's what I want to talk about. Talk about honoring where you came from and growing into who God's calling you to be still. And those are the two things that uh, they don't have to work against each other. A lot of times we think that they do, and they do not. You don't have to choose between your roots and your healing. God's big enough to hold both of them. So let's get started in today's conversation. For those of you who may be new here, that haven't joined with me before, my name is Polly, and I'm with Button Up. I'm the founder and the CEO, executive director of Button Up Leadership. And if you're brand new here, I'm so glad you found us and joined us. And for those of you who've been joining us regularly, thank you for coming back. This episode. We've started some new episodes, and so we're right here on number 5 in this season, and we're talking about unbuttoning the lies that we were told, and that's what we've kind of been going through a little bit of, and we've kind of been peeling back some layers there. Some of the old stories and deep patterns that have been created, those things that we were taught or shown or handed down, didn't quite line up with the truth of who God says we are. And we've been doing the courageous work of, unbuttoning them and figuring it out. So, button up leadership exists because I believe that the women who are healing from trauma they're not broken. They're being built. And every hard thing that you've walked through, every wound that you've carried, and every pattern that you're learning to name and change, that's not defeat. It's just part of your story, and your story has a purpose. So today's episode is going to be close to my heart. We're talking about the tension that so many of us carry when healing starts to look like change. And change starts to feel like distance from the people that we love most. If you've ever felt that pull between who you were raised to be and who God is calling you to become, this one's for you. So, the scripture that I want us to look at, it's a short one. I want us to look at in Ruth chapter 1, verse 16. And I just realized I in my notes I typed out the wrong scripture. I still typed out Ruth 1 and 16, but I always use King James Version, and this one is not King James Version. But in summary, it says, where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. And in that scripture, she also said, your people will be my people, and my people will be your people. So Ruth said those words to Naomi, her mother-in-law. And after everything had fallen apart, both women had had lost a lot. And Ruth was not even from Naomi's people. And, it wasn't from her land, not from her faith. She looked at this woman who was broken and grieving and said, I'm not leaving you. So I want you to notice something about this. Ruth's loyalty was pretty fierce, and it was beautiful. I mean, that she was that loyal to Naomi, and she stayed faithful to her person. She stayed faithful to Naomi to support her and stay with her. Ruth's life did not stay the same. Ruth walked into a completely different world, a different land, a different life, a different future than anything she'd ever known before. And God honored every step of it. She didn't betray her love for Naomi by walking into something new. She carried that love with her into the new thing. And that's the picture that I want you to hold in front of us today. Because I think a whole lot of us are Ruth a lot of the times. And even right now, we're loyal. We love our people fiercely. We're also walking into a territory that looks nothing like where we started. And that's okay. So if you haven't taken time to study the book of Ruth, I recommend you really get in there and study it, because it's just amazing to when you get into studying that, to see how God worked in the life of Ruth and Naomi, and how he really blessed Ruth for staying with Naomi and supporting her and doing the right thing. So let me tell you a little bit now about where I come from. I am from Central Arkansas, from the South. I'm a Southern girl, born and raised. And of course, I'm not much girl anymore, but I was once upon a time. Definitely a woman now. But anyways, there's definitely a richness in being raised that way. In the food, the faith, front porches, iced tea, the people who knew your name, your grandmother's name, your grandfather's name, your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents. There's just something deeply rooted about coming from a place where everybody knows everybody, where your people are your people through thick and thin. So I was raised with values. Faith was the foundation. Family was everything. Hard work wasn't optional. You showed up, you kept your word, you didn't quit, you carried your own weight, and then you helped carry somebody else's. Those are the things I still believe in to my core today, and I'm grateful for them. I'm grateful for the people who poured them into me. And then when I needed healing, it started without even realizing that I was starting to have some healing happening in my life. Not all at once. That never happened all at once. It's a process. And healing kind of just sneaks up on you sometimes. One conversation, one revelation, one honest moment at a time. And somewhere in the middle of it, I started to notice that I was responding to things differently. Things that used to feel normal had started to feel complicated. I was beginning to name patterns in myself and in my family of origin, in the ways we'd all learned to survive, that I'd never had language for before. And here's where it starts to get tender, so stay with me. When you start to heal, you start to change. And when you start to change, the people who love you sometimes notice before you do. You set a limit that would have been unthinkable before. You respond with calm where you might have responded with chaos before. You leave a room instead of exploding in it. You ask for what you need instead of silently resenting the fact that nobody knew and just guessed that you needed something. The people around you, the ones who love you, the ones who raised you, sometimes don't know what to do with the new version of you. The fear that rises up in your own chest can be almost unbearable because the fear sounds like this. What if growing means leaving? What if changing means I'm saying something was wrong? What if becoming someone new means betraying the people who made me? When that's not at all what I'm trying to do. So let's just sit with that fear for just a moment. Because I think a lot of us rush past it and we don't really stop and think about what that really is. We either dismiss it, oh, they'll get used to it, or we let it stop us entirely. Maybe I should just go back to the way things were. And neither of those are a good answer. So the truth that I had to learn, and it took me a while, is that God was not asking me to leave my people. He was asking me to grow. And growing is not the same as leaving. Changing is not the same as criticizing. Setting a limit is not the same as building a wall. You can honor the people who raised you and still become someone they haven't seen before. Those things can coexist. God can hold both. I didn't grow because my family failed me. I grew because God kept calling me forward. And that call was not an indictment of where I came from. It was an invitation into who I was becoming. There's definitely a difference, and it matters. Now, let me connect this to leadership because that's what we do here. So we talk about our healing and we talk about what it looks like to lead out of the healing. And this is where I want to speak directly to you, the leader who's sitting in the tension right now. So many women who step into leadership roles, especially women who are healing from trauma, carry this exact same conflict inside their own stories. They come from families where patterns were passed down, not out of cruelty, not out of carelessness, but out of survival. People did what they knew how to do with what they had. Silence was safety. Overwork was love. Pushing through was strength. Keeping the peace meant not asking hard questions. And then one day you walk into leadership and you realize you have to do it differently. You have to communicate what those before you couldn't. You have to hold limits where they never modeled for you. You have to name things in your organization that nobody ever named in your home. And it feels foreign and frightening because it is foreign. You're charting new territory. You've never been there before. Maybe you're the first woman in your family to go to therapy, the first one to say out loud, that wasn't okay. The first one to set a firm limit and hold it without apologizing. The first one to name what the patterns were and decide they stop with you. And with that trailblazing comes something nobody warned you about: loneliness and guilt. And you'll have to deal with those, and you're going to have to work through it, because it can feel like you're standing in a field you weren't supposed to enter, like you left someone behind, like you are somehow saying by your very healing that the people who came before you, like they did it wrong. And that's not what you're saying at all. And here's where I need you to hear this, leader to leader, heart to heart. You are not betraying your people by growing. You may be blazing a new trail that they couldn't, but you're not betraying them. Breaking a pattern is not the same as breaking a relationship. You can choose to lead differently from what you were shown and still love the people who showed you. Those things they're not at war with each other, and God's not asking you to forget where you came from. He is asking you to carry your people forward in the way you lead, in the way you love, in the way you live. The trail you blaze doesn't leave them behind. It opens a door they may one day walk through too. So here's the moment, the thing that I want you to walk away with today, the thing that changed everything for me when I finally found the language for it. I spent so much time thinking it was either or. Either I heal or I hold on to my roots. Either I grow or I stay loyal. Either I become someone new or I honor where I came from. And I was exhausted from trying to choose, trying to go back and forth, exhausted from the guilt, exhausted from the internal tug of war that never seemed to end. And then something shifted. I don't know exactly when it happened or what that exact moment was, but healing rarely, I'll get that spit out in a second. Healing will rarely give you a clean timestamp. It's not going to work that way. But at some point, I found this truth and it settled down inside me. It's not either or, it's both and. I could hold my roots and my healing at the same time. I could love my people and still become someone they hadn't met yet. I could honor the good that was given to me and also grow past the parts that were not serving me, not in opposition, but together. I did not have to leave where I came from to become who I was becoming. I just had to stop letting the fear of changing keep me from growing. Don't be stuck in fear. And the day I stopped fighting that tension, the day that I let God hold both of those things, I felt a peace settle inside me that I had not felt in years, maybe ever, because I was finally walking forward without dragging guilt behind me like a chain. So my roots were still mine. My people are still my people. And I was becoming a little more every day, the woman that God had always been calling me to be. Both things were true. Both things were good. And God was honoring both. So before we, excuse me, before we close out today, I want you to realize that God hears you. And if you're somewhere quiet, just take a breath, spend a little time with Him in prayer, and let Him know that, to speak to Him and seek His guidance, and let Him know that you're open to the healing that He's offering you in whatever direction that is. And I thank you for joining me today. I thank you for being brave enough to sit in the tension, to ask the hard questions, and to let God speak into the places that hurt. I know it's not easy, but you're showing courage in doing that. So don't let anybody tell you otherwise. So if today's episode moved something in you, if it names something you've been carrying but didn't have any words for it, I'd be so honored if you would just share it with a friend who needs to hear it and leave a review for me. So if you would share it with a friend, because women in our lives, they need permission slips sometimes just like we do. So pass it on, share it. Again, if you'd leave a review, that helps so other women can find it. And you can find us in everything that Button Up Leadership has to offer at Button Up Solutions. So whether you're looking for, coaching, community, or the next step in your healing and leadership journey, we'd love to walk alongside with you there. But until next time, I'll catch you later. See you, friend.